people who speak multiple languages, have you ever had funny moments when someone didn't expect you to understand their language?
I speak 4 foreign languages besides Russian: Uzbek, Tatar, English, and German. I usually don't brag about this at job interviews. I work as a programmer, and I often order food delivery to the office. So, one time I was waiting for my order, it was about to arrive. At that moment, my boss walks in with 4 Austrian engineers and tries to talk to them in his broken English. I decided to help and started speaking English, but then I realized by their accent they were German, so I switched to German. Right at that moment, the delivery guy called me. His Russian was terrible, so I asked him in Uzbek if he spoke it, and he happily explained everything with no language barrier. I went out to get the food, leaving the engineers with my boss. While I was walking, a distant relative called me, and I finished the call in Tatar as I came back into the office. Let's just say, the whole team was shocked.
A Japanese tutor shared this one. She and her husband traveled to Japan several times a year with groups. She always brought little souvenirs and amazing stories. One time in Tokyo, she was walking behind a couple. The girl was yelling at her boyfriend, throwing insults, calling him every bad word possible. At some point, the guy tried to calm her down and said, "Hey, be quiet, there's a lady walking behind us, it's kinda awkward." The girl turned around, looked at my tutor, and asked in broken English, "Do you understand us?" The tutor replied in perfect Japanese, "Of course not, I don't understand a word, please go on." The best part? The girl shrugged, turned back to her boyfriend and said, "See, she doesn't understand anything," and continued yelling at him.
Here's a story from a taxi driver. I work in Moscow, and I know a few languages. Recently, I picked up passengers from a theater. A Chinese couple sat in the back, and a Russian grandma sat in the front. There were 2 stops. First, the grandma to Mariino, then the Chinese couple to Tsaritsino. The whole way, the Chinese couple complained about the theater show. Then they started talking about Russians. I couldn't take it anymore and told them in Chinese, "It's not nice to talk about others thinking we don't understand." They were shocked. But the real kicker? The grandma sitting next to me suddenly spoke perfect Chinese too, expressing her disapproval. Her name is Irina Vasilyevna. After we dropped off the couple, she told me that her father served in Nanjing after the war, and she was born there in 1945. Later, in the early 60s, she moved to Moscow.
Maybe I'm a bit late to reply, but here's my story. I live in Germany, but most of my life I spent in Belarus and 2 years in Russia. I speak German, Belarusian, Russian, Ukrainian, and a bit of Polish. Once I was on vacation with my parents in Warsaw. We went into a store. At home we usually speak Russian, but sometimes with my dad I switch to German, since he's German and sometimes forgets Russian words. So I was looking at sodas and talking to my mom in Russian saying, "Wow, I've never seen such a big selection before." She just smiled and walked a bit away. Next to me, 2 Polish girls, maybe 16 years old, were chatting. I was 13 at the time, but looked about 15. Their conversation went like this. Girl 1, "Ugh, there are so many Russians here, it's starting to annoy me." Girl 2, "Yeah, they can't just stay in their own country." G1, "And you know, the government doesn't mind. Like, come here, Russians, Belarusians too, blah, blah, blah." I pretended not to understand. G2, "Smile, she's looking at us." So they smiled at me. But I felt disgusted by their hypocrisy. Then I turned to them and said in Polish, "Good job, girls. But I'm not Russian, I'm just a tourist here." I didn't know Poles treated other Slavs this way, considering we used to be in the same country. They were shocked. I then switched to German with my dad, telling him that Poles can be quite mean. He just shrugged. We left, but I have this habit of looking back. When I did, I saw those girls standing frozen, realizing we might actually be Germans. Their faces were priceless. I was in a good mood the rest of the day.